Hi guys, it's Jody. Today's video I'm going to be continuing my tile segment. This time it's going to be on how I apply the press and seal and freezer paper to my tiles so that when I pour on them after they dry, I can peel it off and use the skin for other purposes, whether it's jewelry or embellishing another piece of artwork, or really whatever you want to use it for, putting it in a frame. There's really no limit to it. So with that, I'm going to be wrapping up just a couple of these square tiles and then a bigger tile for today. And I usually don't tape up the back of them if I can get the press and seal and the freezer paper to flap well, for lack of a better term. But I'll show you. I'm gonna walk you through that. So when I say press and seal, I literally mean press and seal. And let me show you kind of what it looks like. It has a little, you can see that. It does have a little bit of texture to it, and I was asked that question if the texture comes through. It does. And I'm one of those people that likes texture, so it doesn't bother me. However, when you resin over it, I've found that most of the time the texture goes away. There has been a couple times where you can still see it, but I don't think it detracts from it. So, you decide whether you're going to want texture or not. So I have also brought out freezer paper. I use it everywhere here in my studio, underneath all my silicone mats to catch any excess drips, but it's like kind of like a almost plasticky material, and anything you put on it dries and it peels right off. And the freezer paper, actually, I started using before I even got the silicone mats. So if you don't have silicone mats, freezer paper is another good alternative. You can get press and seal. I get it at Target, Walmart, Behr, Amazon, Sam's Club. Costco does not have it. I've looked for it there, but Sam's Club does have it, probably the best price. And then the freezer paper I get from Target, again, Walmart, Behr. I mean, any store like that. Amazon probably would have it. They might have a different brand, maybe more in bulk too, but a little goes a long way. So I am going to now bring you down, and we will get this press and seal and the freezer paper on these tiles so we can get started. All right, the first one we're going to do is press and seal on this little 4-inch tile. And it's being tricky. Might have been a little too much, but that's okay. It'll wrap around the back. Just like to get it as smooth as possible. Just kind of stick it in the middle, and I like to pull it. And then I'm just gonna pull it up. I try to pull as I'm kind of pull the tile, but just so you don't want to rip it, but just so that it stays as smooth as possible on the front. And it's looking good. And the same thing on this side. And then this side. And then I'm just going to secure it with a piece of frog tape. And that is now ready to be poured on to put a bloom. At the end of this video, I will go over how I, once they're dried, how I take them off, and then I'll show you all the skins and all that stuff too. So, but here's one. And this guy I'm going to put freezer paper on. may have to cut a little because that's going to be way too big. Cut in half. And put, you know, obviously you put the shiny side down. We'll put our tile in the middle. Let's do this side first. This one's going to require a little bit more tape. I had this tile taped up from a while ago, which is why there's tape on it. I usually don't tape it if I'm putting freezer paper or press and seal on. Make sure it's smooth on the front. It's like you're wrapping up a package. And this way. One more side. Way. There. It's all smooth, and you don't have to, don't worry about this excess stuff, because really when you're making a skin, it's just really this part in that you're really going to get good on. The sides, they're not gonna be worth anything, so don't worry about it if you have a lot of excess paper on the side. And I'm going to do this 6-inch tile, one more I'm going to do with some press and seal on it. You can do any size tile with this. If you even have a 12 by 12, I haven't done anything bigger than an 8 by 8, but I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to do any size tile with this technique. Pull it tight. And the nice stuff about this is it's press and seal, so it presses right to the tile. Alright. That's good. The front looks good. And again, same thing with the edges on this too. They're you're not really going to be using the excess around the edges, so if it looks a little messy, it's okay. Really what you're concerned with is the top. All right, and we are good. That's ready to pour over too. So now we're gonna go and pour on these tiles, and we're just gonna pour on them, make our blooms just like anything else. So let's go have some fun. and I'm back with the dried results of the tiles you just saw me do. It's been a few days. Normally when I pour on the press and seal or the freezer paper, I like to let them sit at least 10 days to 2 weeks just to let them fully cure. But for this demonstration, it's been about 3 or 4 days. So I want to show you the results, and then I'm going to actually take them off the tiles so you can see what they look like as full skins. And then I'll show you a couple of examples of what I use them for. So I'm going to, first I'm going to show you. I don't remember the order. I know the big one was last. I think I did this press and seal one first. This one turned out really nice. And you can see the texture in there. I love texture, so it doesn't bother me. And if you resin over it, more than likely the texture is going to go away, but it may stay. You're just going to have to play with that. So that's the first one. But then your other option is the freezer paper, which is this guy here. Dried beautifully. And then this one is my favorite. This is the bigger one I used with the press and seal. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to bring you down and then take these off the tiles, and we'll go from there. All right. Let's take these off the tiles. First thing I do is I'll just start peeling off the tape first. I might need the help of scissors, but usually it works out okay. Looks like it's still a little wet under there, which is why I let it dry longer, but we're going to see what happens. It might just be caught in the press and seal. Alrighty. Edge. Yeah. See, there's still wet paint caught in there. Right over here. Oh, there we are. Okay. All right. If you can unfold it, it usually comes out pretty neat. And then you can reuse your tile. Right. And what I like to do, because it's pretty, the edges are pretty messy, I'll just kind of cut along the sides. Because the sides are usually pretty messy. What we really want is just the top. Trying to do this without getting any of the wet paint on this actual skin. Normally everything is dry, but I just didn't have enough time to let these set. Well, the skin itself is dry. It's just some of the white paint that got caught in the layers of the press and seal is still a little wet, but that's okay. You get the idea. ones off. Okay. And this is the skin that we have left. And now the tricky part is getting the press and seal. Usually there's just a little bit of a corner. This is where you may need nails. There we go. Just kind of work it. Oops. If you can see, it's starting to peel. Just do it slowly so nothing rips. It's usually thick enough to where it won't rip, but some of the edges, kind of like that, will rip just a touch. And there we have it. Our first skin. All right, let me take off the one on the freezer paper, and the big one, it's a press and seal. I'll just do off camera, but this was the freezer paper one, so you can see how that one comes off. Same way, I try to just take the tape off first and then unfold it and then cut the edges off. And there's still a little bit of wet paint in the creases, but the skin is dry, so we should be okay. Again, I usually wait about 10 days to 2 weeks. Okay. There we go. Getting there. It's kind of like taking off. Somebody gives you a beautifully wrapped present and you want to save the wrapping paper. You unwrap it very carefully. And again, we can reuse this tile. And here's what it looks like. I'm just going to cut around, or you can peel it off right from here. I like to just cut around it because the edges tend to be thinner paint and it kind of rips anyways, so I'm just getting bugger. Darn white paint. All right. Get off there. That's all right. We're going to cut that off anyways. All right, and this is the skin. Let me just pull this off of the freezer paper. Might be easier to just take it off and then cut it. There's a bright idea. Next time I'll do that. Sometimes I like to make it difficult for myself. But if you do it this way, you just kind of get it peels right off. Actually, it peels off easier than the press and seal a little bit. But this is your skin on the freezer paper. And I mean, the only difference really is the texture. So if you're really not keen on the texture, then I would go with the freezer paper. I like both. I think both have a place, so I use both. I am going to take this big guy off camera, and I'll be right back, and then I'll show you some of the things I like to use them for. All right, here is the big skin that I took off. Again, if you can see, it's got the texture. Now, what to do with all these? I think it's limited by your imagination, really. The more I sat here and thought about it, the more I'm like, wow, you can do that. Oh, you can do that. Oh, you can do that. Recently, I've been having a little fun with pendants like these. I'll just take the skin and put it in there. These little pendants that I got, they actually came with the glass part that you put in. I actually like to put resin on them. I don't use the glass part, but I do save those because I'll use that as a template to cut around, to cut out the pieces to fit into these little pendants. So that's a little tip for you. And this is just a necklace that I made with beads and some stretchy cord just to test it out. So that's one idea. I'm also testing out these little phone grips. This is another skin that I did it for. I messed up the back, but it's when it's popped off. One of those little phone grips. You can get blanks. I bought them off of Etsy. They're relatively cheap. I mean, I think I paid 10 of them for like $9, and that was with shipping. They're less than $1 a piece. But I just ordered some more resin from Counterculture DIY, and they actually have some of the templates, the blank templates there. So, and they were $5 for $4 and some change. So again, they're pretty cheap. So that's another idea. And I was also thinking of other stuff while I was gathering all my material. And with the tiles, I mean, this bigger one was a 6-inch. If you do an 8-inch or a 12-inch, you can start, put them in clear frames. This is an 8x8 frame. So if I cut the edges to clean them up a little bit more, but float that in a frame, that would be really awesome. Or a matted frame would be really neat too. Matted, I mean where it's not clear, this is just glass, but you have like your white mat, and then the picture would sit in here, so it's kind of offset a little bit. That would be really neat. Other things I was thinking of are these little wood boxes that I got. If you wanted to do if you didn't want to use it for tile or something else, you could probably set one of the smaller ones in there, glue it in there, and then resin over it. I actually might try that myself. But just some more ideas. Or if you have the wood cradle board, if you have bigger ones or smaller ones, or if you want to mix a few of them together. I mean, there's no limit but your imagination, and I'm thinking of more and more ideas as I sit here. I like to use resin. Some people don't, but I guess you could probably varnish over it too. I've not tried it yet. I've only used resin, but I can't see why you wouldn't be able to glue it down and put some sort of varnish over it. Either a regular varnish or a spray varnish. These other ornaments, I love to pour on these ornaments, but they're small enough to where you could probably, again, adhere, just cut it out, adhere it, and resin over it. So there you go. It's a lot of my ideas that I just gave you. But it's fun to think of all these different ideas, and I'm sure you're going to think of other ideas to use these skins for, whether you choose the press and seal or the freezer paper, if you like texture or not. So I hope you found this video helpful. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I had a lot of fun coming up with new ideas that I didn't even know myself until just this moment. So please like, share, and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching and your support, and I'll see you next time.